Welcome back. Let's get right to it. First topic, a jet flips on a Toronto runway. Take a look at the clip. Wow, we gotta know what the hell's going on with all these airplane crashes these days. I mean, are we finally seeing the reckoning coming of just pure crap materials used to build these planes? Like, aren't the majority of these Boeing planes, like, you know, held together with super glue and duct tape? I just don't feel like I could really go on a plane right now. I mean, I don't really like flying to begin with. It's just, you're stuck in a tube, probably next to some just morbidly obese person. That's probably the worst thing about flying, is potentially getting stuck next to just some obese person, let's be real. But yeah, are we finally seeing the reckoning happening of the whole, you know, terrible manufacturing going on with the planes? We obviously know it's a huge problem. It's basically like Planegate these days, you know. But I think that's probably what it is, honestly. But for some reason, somehow, the media did find a way to blame Donald Trump. Go ahead, take a look at the clip.
I did want to, underscore, to pick up on the conversation you were just having, though, in terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom. This is going to, yet again, raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border. And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions, especially air traffic control.
All right, we just have to know these days, and just to acknowledge that anytime anything in the world happens of any sort of significance that's not a good thing, they're just going to blame Donald Trump. And if you're too dumb to see that and just look the other way and take that with a grain of salt, the whole, well, this is Donald Trump's fault again, then you're just an idiot, right? And you got to know, you're better than that, right? You got to know that they're just lying straight to your face again. But all right, next clip. A presidential expert on MSNBC thinks that we should stop celebrating President's Day. Go ahead, take a look at the clip.
All right, so the headline here is presidential historian says President's Day is ridiculous. We should scrap it? What do you mean?
It is a little bit silly. I mean, we have had some real duds, so I'm not sure we really want to be celebrating all presidents. And the tradition actually comes from celebrating birthdays, which is a celebration that we inherited from celebrating the king. And I'm just not sure that that's exactly what we want. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we necessarily want to celebrate the people. I think that we want to have a certain respect for the office. I totally get that. And some have done extraordinary things, but by celebrating all of them, I do think it causes us to think of the president as somehow other, when in reality they are a citizen just like everyone else.
So you mentioned this earlier in the show, the idea that Trump posted something just over the weekend where he quoted Napoleon Bonaparte-esque, saying, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." It feels like exactly the example of what you're saying we should push against.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think if we think of a president as someone to celebrate just because they exist, which is what the king was, and that's why they celebrated the king's birthday, then it does evolve into that argument that they can do no wrong.
She's trying to claim we had some duds. All right. Now, we know we had some duds. We just went 4 years with a dud, right? But why is she saying we need to end President's Day? It's because she basically just hates Trump. You think if we had Kamala as the president right now, she would be saying that we don't need to be celebrating President's Day because we had some duds? No, she would be telling you that, oh, this is the greatest President's Day ever because we have the first ever black woman president, even though she's completely not capable of doing anything, especially when it comes to being the president. And the woman, the presidential expert, remember, there's very few experts actually in the world these days. She would be telling you that if you're not completely celebrating everything that Kamala does, that you're just a racist. And why? It's because she's a presidential expert and she knows how to recognize racism when she sees it. Because obviously, right? I mean, she's a presidential expert, and when she tells you got duds, she's also an expert on racism. But all right, next topic. A CBS Face the Nation host tried to claim that free speech was responsible for the Holocaust. Go ahead and take a look at the clip.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Wow, now that might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard said on a news network. I mean, there's been a lot of stupid things. I don't know if I can really claim it as the dumbest, but it's up in the upper echelon of being the dumbest. Because frankly, not having free speech is exactly what causes things like the Holocaust. When you can't step up and say, wow, our government is terrible and what they're doing is terrible, you tend to have things like Holocausts and genocide happen because you're dealing with dictators at that point who don't let anybody say anything against them, right? I think it's pretty clear that that's what happened, and it wasn't free speech to blame for, what Hitler did and the Nazis. Can we at least agree on that free speech was not to blame and that we don't need to be tearing down free speech at every single step of the way? Whenever anybody just gets a chance, I don't even know why they do it, but they just want to end free speech. It's insane. But that brings us to our next topic. Germany is basically going to cease to exist as Germany within probably a year. Go ahead, take a look at this clip.
That's clear. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician...
That sticks around forever.
Yeah.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany.
Hier ist die Polizei, wir mussten bitte mal mit Ihnen reden.
Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online. At the exact same time across Germany, more than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
All right, I just want you to imagine, you're an American, or you're hopefully watching this in a country that has free speech. So if you're in America, yeah. Everywhere else, basically not, right? But imagine you're an American and you move to Germany and you have to deal with these people, right? Where you put a post out there online or something and you say, say you're a woman and your friend goes out after dark and somehow ends up getting raped by a Pakistani or some sort of Muslim guy, and you go online and you say, oh my my God, my friend was just raped. Now I fear that I might be raped as well. These people are scaring me. Now all of a sudden you're the problem because you're insinuating that these Pakistani people are rape people, like they're a rape culture, right? It kind of seems like it's a rape culture. Now you need to be, you need to be the one to face charges and some sort of, fine here. Frankly, if it's so bad, we're going to just take your phone from you and we're going to throw you in jail. Germany is going to cease to exist the way we know Germany in probably about, I don't know if it could stand another 2 years at this point. If that's what they're doing, especially where you can't even criticize the people in charge, or if you do, you will be thrown in jail. Now, that's a dictatorship. That sounds kind of like what Hitler was doing, right? I mean, if all of a sudden Germany, are we going to have some sort of, Holocaust again, but you're going to be doing it to your own people? It kind of sounds like that's what's going to be happening. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be on that scale, but I just can't, rule it out at this point. But all right, that's it for today. Be sure to subscribe. We'll be seeing you.